Good morning.
How are you?
Okay, and yourself?
All right. What's wrong?
I'm having my foot is bothering me.
Oh, I'm like, something not right. You're not your bubbly self. Oh, no. Okay. All right. Do we need to make a visit to our nice podiatrist or physician
Look,
or
look, something.
something?
Yeah.
Like something? Like you. Hey, get it ready. Get it ready. Oh, no. It just started today? Or has it been?
No, yesterday,
No.
well, Thursday.
Okay.
But it's getting a little better, but look, don't get old, okay?
And we tell people to keep living. So oh, well, I hope you feel better.
So eventually, so
Yeah, yeah. Goodness, because yeah, you came in like, whoa, wait a minute, hold up, time out. Wait. Stop the presses. Stop the film. Some ain't right with my friend. What is going on? Oh, so how was your week?
it was it was weekend as usual. It went by pretty fast though.
It did. That it did. There's so many. Well, it's the end of the school year here. And so we had a lot of graduations and, packing stuff up, even though, we into the third week, third week of our summer semester. So we just moving right along, moving right along. But it's a lot going on. A lot going on.
Yes.
I'm like, woo. Good
Good
morning.
morning, Tanika.
Morning, Tanika. Yes. Oh, I forgot. Oh, wait. There we go. Remember, I told you if you hit it, it shows you that it's been on there, but I see it now. Okay. It's faint, though. They need to make it real clear that, yeah, you used it, unless there's some settings that I don't know about. I have to play around with StreamYard. They be doing something new. Every week I come on here, there's a new announcement about something every single week. I'm like, okay, get it together. All righty. Well, let's get this party started because this is going to be a fun party, if I do say so myself. Uh, all right. We ready to rock and roll. Well, welcome everybody to our Saturday morning tea. Here we brew up the hottest topics in healthcare. We discuss health information, news, education, podiatry visits. How the weeks is flying by. Certification tips and entrepreneurship. Also, well, checking in on your friend. How about that? When you hear something, check in on your friend. The revenue cycle at large, really just everything. And as you come in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or like button. Good morning, Molly. Good morning. How are
Yeah,
you?
good morning, Molly.
All right. See, I get caught up. See how quickly I get caught up? All right. I'm Clarice Warner, the girl with the pearls, the founder and senior education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. And PRN is a healthcare compliance consultancy located in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in revenue cycle and regulatory compliance and education. And let me ask, do you know what it takes to be a certified marketable medical coder? Do you? Well, before I introduce my co host, let me share with you information on a free, yes, free email course on the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start and scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder. Hey. No, I love that. All right. If you're interested in getting more information about the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder, check the video description for the link. Joining me today is my partner in success, my co host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark. Put some respect on his name, the coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse. I live in Philadelphia. I've been in healthcare for a very long time. I left the bedside in 2014 and moved into risk adjustment. During the pandemic in 2020, I created a company called the Coding Nurse LLC, where I help nurses and other people in healthcare with a clinical background transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
Oh, and what a wonderful world it is. How is it going?
It's coming along. It's coming along.
Yes, yes. Twists and turns, boy, twists and turns everywhere we look. I feel a old spiritual welling up in my spirit right now. All right. So before we jump in, let me remind you that you can join in and add to the conversation, and we welcome you. We welcome that. So don't be shy. Your opinion matters and is always welcomed here. Even if it's in opposition, it's still welcome here. We want to hear what you got to say. So use the chat. If you have a question, please, for us, please type Q first, so that we can see it and that we don't miss it and we can answer your question, specifically if it's for us. For those who are just joining us or watching the replay, today we are talking the invisible workforce, medical coders uncover. Yeah. So, but first, let's talk about some church announcements, shall we? Shall we? Meow. Hey, hey. 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 I'm bumping all into the table. Getting a little too excited. All right. Let's see. All right. So my church announcement is just related to some advocacy that I felt kind of went with the theme of our series that we got going on starting today. And I don't think you even have to be a member of AHIMA to participate in this, but if you go to the AHIMA website and click on the advocacy button and take a look at the take action area, there are several areas or several different items that HEMA is asking folks to take action on. But one of them caught my attention, which was to support the Healthcare Workforce Innovation Act of 2025. Again, this kind of flows with the theme of what we're going to talk about today. So I thought it was timely to mention. And so AHIMA is asking constituents to urge their members of Congress to co-sponsor HR 935 or S4254, which is the Healthcare Workforce Innovation Act of 2025. And this bipartisan legislation would establish a grant program focused on increasing the number of allied health professionals, including health information professionals, in the workforces of underserved communities and rural areas. These grants could be used to provide education, training programs, and apprenticeships to allied health professionals. So they're asking for you to write your members of Congress and ask that they support the legislation. And they make it real easy because there's an Act Now box next to the information. You fill in your name, address, and email, and then click on sign up. And then you'll automatically receive information about who your Congress people are. And usually there's a already made pre-filled out letter that you can submit and send right over to their email. So real easy, less than 5 minutes, work it out. So in support of health information professionals of the future, support the Health Innovation Workforce Innovation Act of 2025 Advocacy Initiative. All right, that's all I got. Mr. Jesse, what you got?
I only have two.
Hey, all right, too.
Tomorrow is the last Sunday in May, so it'll be the men's choir. And you were talking about you had a spiritual that was so in keeping with today's theme. We know the song "The Blood Still Works."
Yeah, yes, it does.
The guidelines still work.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I love it. I love it. I had a whole conversation the other day about that. Like, ma'am, yeah, a whole conversation. And it was like, so these weren't even the official coding guidelines. These were just the manual guidelines. Ma'am, you don't see what that little indentation right here means. You don't see what those numbers, that means that you need additional digits. Ma'am, learn them, man. Okay. I'm gonna get off. I promise. Good morning, Kate. Good morning.
Good morning.
I promise I'm gonna get off. All right, let me stop the banner. Cut the music. All right. So let's get into this. We'll let the tea spilling begin. All right. So good morning, good morning, good morning again. Welcome or welcome back to the Saturday Morning Tea, where we serve up the real talk our profession needs. We pour up something warm, something real, and something that genuinely matters for your career in health information, medical coding, and compliance. I'm Clarice Warner, the girl with the pearls, with my partner in success, the coding nurse. And if you're new here, welcome, because we meet every Saturday morning to demystify medical coding, billing, and everything that keeps healthcare revenue flowing, and talk about the things in healthcare that actually matter for your career, your compliance, and your paycheck. And to my returning friends, thank you for being here. Get your cup and come on in the room. Now, let me ask you, what would happen to American healthcare if every medical coder walked away tomorrow? Just was like, wait, they said you can't do this way because they can get your fingerprint. Did you hear that? Some of the bells don't. So I was listening to a radio program, and she was like, there's something going on about when you put up the peace sign, you shouldn't point your fingers where the prints are, because with these high resolution cameras, they can zoom in and get your fingerprints and use it and da-da-da. I said, well, let me throw them up this way. The piece.
There you go.
What if I said peace? What if all the coders was like, you know what? We out of here. How many people in your C-suite could even tell you why or what to do or who they are or what was going on? Wow. So today, my friends, this is the conversation the healthcare industry has been avoiding for far too long. Today, we are kicking off a 3-part series called Respect the Code and the Coder, but Respect the Code, the invisible workforce powering healthcare. And I want you to know that this series is born out of love and a conversation that we had just last week. Mr. Jesse threw this out like, you know what? It's all about disrespect and disregard for the medical coding profession. Well, we want to unpack that and uncover the why, the where, the who, the what, the when, all of the things related to ultimately the disrespect and disregard of our profession. But it's really, like I said, born out of love, and love for our profession, love for the people who show up every single day and do the work, translate the language of medicine into the language of reimbursement, love for a workforce that is simultaneously seeming to be indispensable and invisible. Of course, because it could all be so simple if the healthcare industry truly understood what medical coders bring to the table every single day, would we be having this conversation? Probably not. Well, you never know. But in part one, today we're going to explore how we got here, how a profession responsible for nearly $20 billion in annual market activity became one of the most undervalued, misclassified, and overlooked workforces in all of American healthcare. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. In part two, we'll dig into the human cost, the burnout, the productivity quotas, the compensation gaps, and the exodus from our profession. And in part three, we are claiming our seat. We are making the business case, and we are talking about the road forward. So get you some tea, or again, no judgment here, whatever libation you need. Get comfortable and let's have this conversation together. So let me start with something. I want every coder, CDI specialist, and health information professional listening today, and their supervisors and managers and all of the folks as well, to hear this clearly. You are the reason healthcare gets paid. Period. Yes, yes, we need customers and of course the patients, but outside of that, it's you, not the physicians alone, not the administrators, not the software. It's you. It's medical coders and all of you with your CPCs, your CRCs, your CCSs, your CCSPs, your CCAs, all of the things, all of the things. You are the professionals who translate every diagnosis, every procedure, every treatment into the standardized language that makes reimbursement possible. Let me give you some numbers because you know numbers always tell the truth. The medical coding market grew to $19.13 billion in 2025 at a compound annual growth rate of 7.6%. That came from the Business Resource Company. The industry that your expertise supports is worth nearly $20 billion and growing. There are over 95,000 codes across 3 medical coding systems that we all use, ICD-10-CM and PCS, your CPT coding manuals, as well as HCPCS. And without skilled coders accurately assigning those codes, the entire revenue cycle, the process by which healthcare organizations receive payment for services rendered, does not slow down. It breaks down all the way down. Now, here's where I need you to hold that truth in one hand while I place something else in the other. The American Medical Association reports a 30% gap in the medical coding workforce. A survey by the Healthcare Financial Management Association, or HFMA, found that 50% of CFOs find it increasingly challenging to fill these essential positions. We are critical, we are scarce, and we are not treated accordingly. Now, let me tell you something that honestly, when I first came across it, I had to sit with it for a minute. And I heard about this um, maybe 3 years ago at a House of Delegates meeting. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, or the BLS, is the federal agency responsible for measuring the labor market and economic conditions in the United States. They categorize occupations, they track wages, they project growth. And when it comes to medical coders, the BLS does not have a dedicated occupational category for medical coders. Instead, the federal government classifies our skilled, credentialed, highly specialized professionals alongside general medical secretaries and administrative assistants. Now, I want to be clear, administrative professionals are valued members of any healthcare team, but a certified professional coder who has passed a rigorous credentialing examination and possesses deep knowledge of anatomy, physiology, medical terminology, ICD-10 CM guidelines, CPT guidelines, payer policy, compliance regulation, and revenue cycle management. Mm-mm. That is not the same as an administrative assistant. And this misclassification matters. Mr. Jesse, you know you can jump in at any time. Okay. The And here's why misclassification has real consequences. First of all, it affects how organizations budget for coding positions. When leadership references the BLS data for compensation benchmarks, they are looking at administrative assistant salary data, not specialized healthcare professional data, which they should. It affects how policymakers perceive the profession. When lawmakers make decisions on healthcare workforce development and funding, coders are largely invisible in the data. Also, it affects how coders see themselves. When your profession is categorized alongside clerical workers by the federal government, their narrative seeps into organizational culture, compensation decisions, and professional respect. ICD-10 CM became effective in the United States in October 1, 2015, dramatically increasing the complexity and specificity of medical coding. The number of diagnosis codes expanded from approximately 13,000 under the ICD-9 system to over 70,000 under ICD-10 CM, a more than five-fold increase. Yet, this enormous increase in complexity was not accompanied by a corresponding increase in professional recognition or compensation structures. You know, it could all be so simple if the systems that measure and value work actually reflected the complexity of the work being done. So let us also talk about the workforce shortage, because this is where the disrespect and the disregard of medical coders becomes a full institutional crisis, not a future problem, a right now 2026 problem. So hospitals across the United States are entering 2026 facing a financial emergency. There are too few qualified medical coders. According to the AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders, the demand for credentialed coders will outpace supply by more than 30% through 2030. So, our health information management programs are not graduating enough professionals to replace retirees. And burnout from high volume workloads continues to drive attrition, meaning coders are leaving the profession faster than new ones are entering it. Now, what does a coding vacancy actually cost? Well, each vacancy represents thousands of unbilled charts, extended AR days, and growing compliance risk. And a HEMA report, I think it was in 2023, found that 48% of respondents experienced decreased reimbursement and slower claims processing, specifically due to coding understaffing. So, AR days, for those newer to revenue cycle conversations, is the number of days it takes a healthcare organization to collect payment after a service is rendered. The longer those AR days, the worse the cash flow. Unbilled charts, that is revenue sitting in limbo, waiting on a coder who is not there. And what was the reason or the response from many healthcare organizations to this crisis? Offshoring and outsourcing and automation. Not invest in our people, not increase wages, not create pathways for professional development, not include coders in strategic conversations. The response to a workforce crisis caused in large part not valuing coders enough, was to replace coders with, quote, cheaper alternatives. Go ahead. I hear you breathing.
So we have everything has a root cause.
Mhm.
And when are we going to get to the root cause? Because this is not new, and it's not going to change. And when these companies started, because first of all, like offshoring has been going on for over 10 years.
Mhm.
It's not new at all.
Mhm.
When it first started, AAPC and AHEMA should have been raising a red flag then, because now it's just out of control, because what it comes down to is these these organizations have no respect for coders and for the skill. So that's why it becomes a line item that you can just reduce costs. Oh, we'll let these people do it over here because they can do it cheaper. And it's that kind of mindset is always going to lead to disaster. And that's just like a lot of companies are realizing this now. Like every AI was not meant to do everything. AI was never designed to run a business. Because can it? In a perfect world, yes, but what happens when it doesn't, which is more often reality? Then it
Mhm.
all falls apart.
Mhm.
You have people complaining about customer service because you don't actually get to a person. You're talking to a machine. So it's
Over and
just
over and over again.
exactly.
Mm-mm-mm. So here's some more numbers. So the AAPC in 2024 has some data that said coding errors account for nearly 35% of claim denials. And the HFMA data stated coding errors cost providers 3 to 5% of their annual revenue. So when you replace experienced credentialed coders with lower cost alternatives and accuracy declines, you have not saved money at all. You've just redirected where the money is lost. Specifically talking about offshoring, because as Mr. Jesse just stated, this has been going on for at least a decade, 10 years or so. This is one of the practices that speaks most directly to how some healthcare organizations view the work of medical coders. So the outsourced segment of medical coder or medical coding accounted for almost 70% of the US coding market revenue, I'm sorry, the largest share. And the primary driver of this outsource is, quote, cost reduction. So nearly 70 cents of every dollar in medical coding services going to an outsourced provider. Now, I want to be clear, outsourcing is not inherently wrong. There are times when it's okay. There are quality outsourced coding vendors staffed with excellent credentialed professionals doing outstanding work in some places. That is not the argument I'm making today. The argument I am making is this: when organizations do the offshoring and outsourcing, coding purely on the basis of cost without fully accounting for quality, compliance, and continuity risks, then they are signaling something about how they value the expertise involved. Because you got people who are credentialed, who have specializations, and you're turning a blind eye. You're just turning away from them and saying, "Oh, you know what? Let's send it over here where we can get it cheaper, quicker, faster." Quote on all of that, because oftentimes it's not. And not looking at the treasure that you already have and investing in that. Some key risks of offshore coding and what the cost calculators miss. Well, again, the consistency. Offshore coders may lack familiarity with US payer rules and specialty specific documentation requirements. Communication, the time zone differences slow quality assurance. Um, because there is rarely real time communication. Compliance. Cross border data transfer introduces new HIPAA concerns for PHI. And recovery costs. What initially appears to be a financial advantage can ultimately cost more in claim denials, audit exposure, and rework. Again, it could all be so simple if healthcare organizations calculated the true total cost of their coding decisions rather than just the labor line on a spreadsheet. Now, I want to bring us to something that is particularly timely in 2026. And again, that's the conversation about AI, which Mr. Jesse already touched on. And not only AI, but also the automation that has been added in medical coding. And in coding, AI is no longer a future consideration. We already know some of us are already working side by side with the folks using AI. It is a present reality. These tools are being deployed across hospital systems, interpreting physician notes, suggesting codes. And the question is not whether AI will be part of the coding landscape. It already is. It will be. We know this. But here's the thing, are coders being included in the conversation about how it is implemented? When healthcare organizations plan AI assisted coding implementations, the people in the room tend to be IT leadership, revenue cycle executives, vendors, administrators, and too often not the coders themselves, not even coder or health information leadership, but really none of the front line people at all. You rarely do you see any frontline people giving any information, providing insight, their expertise, or anything related to these type of implementations. AHIMA has made this clear. Coders provide the clinical judgment, ethical oversight, and regulatory understanding that no algorithm can replicate. AI may recommend a code set, but only a trained coder can confirm medical necessity and alignment with payer policy. Again, medical necessity, payer policy, regulatory compliance, local coverage determinations that govern what Medicare will and will not reimburse in a specific jurisdiction. These are not things an AI system learned in a training data set. These are things a credentialed coder applies with judgment every single chart, every single day. AI cannot handle the complexity of multiple comorbidities, coexisting medical conditions in a single patient encounter. It struggles with ambiguous documentation. It does not know the specialty specific nuances that an experienced coder has spent years developing. And here's the profound irony. As AI tools enter the revenue cycle, the organizations deploying them need coders more than ever, not less. They need coders to validate AI output, to catch the errors before they become denials, to serve as the clinical intelligence layer that no algorithm can replicate. So when AI powered coding was piloted without sufficient human oversight, denial rates rose sharply, even as speed increased. Because speed without accuracy is not efficiency, it is liability. And in 2026, the complexity of the coding environment is accelerating. New ICD 10 CM codes for behavioral health, pain management, and all these post COVID syndromes that we see popping up. New DRG updates and shifting evaluation and management guidelines that now emphasize medical decision making over traditional documentation elements. Coders who are excluded from the implementation conversation are being set up to be displaced by the very tools that require their expertise to function correctly. That's not efficiency. That is a failure of organizational leadership. Mhm. But before we close part one, because again, this is a three-part series, and we just introducing all of the things, I want to give some historical context because when we understand how we arrived somewhere, we are better equipped to chart a different path forward. So, medical coding as a formal profession did not always exist as we know it today. The International Classification of Diseases, or ICD, was originally developed by the World Health Organization as a mortality classification system. It was a way to track causes of death, not billing, not reimbursement, not revenue cycles. It was statistical, it was about statistic information. And that still occurs. That's still going on. That's still part of the process. Over time, the system evolved to include morbidity data, not just deaths, but diagnoses. And then the United States began using the clinical modification piece for healthcare billing following the Social Security amendments of 1983, which established the Medicare inpatient prospective payment system and the DRG structure we still operate within today. We had all of our coding institutions began to sprout up: the American Academy of Professional Coders, AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association, which was known as the Association of Record Librarians of North America. All of these professions have been around for decades, and these organizations have worked to elevate the standing of coders and health information professionals. They have made significant progress in credentialing, education, and advocacy. But here's the tension: the complexity of the work has increased exponentially, while the professional recognition has not kept pace at all.
Nor the money.
Nor the money. You're absolutely right. Them coins are not coining. um, and this needs attention. It needs to be discussed. There needs to be conversation. And don't forget these productivity standards many organizations use today. Again, many of them were set up before ICD-10 came into the picture. Some were set in the ICD-9 era. And according to industry analysis, in many organizations, productivity targets were simply carried forward from prior years without accounting for the dramatically increased complexity of current coding work. So, productivity standards set for a coder in 2012 is still being applied in many cases in 2026, even though the code set has grown fivefold. Pair requirements have multiplied. AI output now requires human validation, and compliance stakes have never been higher. This is not accountability. This is an organizational failure, another one, to update its assumptions. And this is the foundation of the disrespect we are talking about today. Not malice in most cases, but a systemic failure to update our assumptions about what this work requires and what it is worth. So where do we go from here? Okay. So I want to close part one with something that is both honest and hopeful, because that is sort of our way. We try to stay optimistic in the face of chaos, doom, and not so optimistic forecasting. But we name the problem clearly, and then we look forward to solutions with intention. The data tells us that the profession is at an inflection point. Demand is outpacing supply. AI is reshaping roles, and regulatory complexity is increasing. The financial stakes are higher than ever, and none of that, not one bit of that, means coders are being replaced. What it means is that coders who invest in themselves, who pursue credentials, who engage with technology, who seek out additional roles, CDI, compliance, audit, and risk adjustment specializations who specialize in the coding that they're doing. These coders are positioned to thrive in a way that this profession has never seen before. But they need to be recognized. They need to there needs to be a clear understanding of the work, the impact of the work, what the work means. Again, no coders, no revenue. We're in the middle. We're in the middle of all of that. We're the mid-revenue cycle. We are also at the end because we have to clean up the foolishness, but just talking about the mid-revenue cycle, when will our leadership understand what's at stake every day if coders walk away? If healthcare organizations hired coders with the respect their expertise command, if productivity standards were updated to reflect what's happening currently in this coding environment and not something that happened in 2010 or if they would respect that there are more steps involved now, there are more things that we have to do. And instead of saying, well, AI can do it quicker, AI can do it faster, but is AI accurate? Clearly not accurate enough that humans are still required. You still need the coders to validate. I don't know. Again, oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I see you breathing.
I just really think there needs to be more honesty in our profession, and we need to have more true advocacy from the coding organizations, particularly AAPC and AHIMA. And I just don't think that it's happening. And I think that's the large part of how we got here. Because like I use this example all the time.
Mhm.
You hear people, not so much now, but maybe especially like during COVID and coming out of COVID,
Mhm.
all these people who were attending these coding boot camps, like computer coding boot camps,
Mhm.
these people were going to like 16-week programs and coming out making like $70,000 and up.
Mhm.
And yet and still you have certified coders who are just getting into it. They don't make anywhere near that.
Mhm.
But people who can computer code are put on a pedestal. Like they're given recognition. But coders have in the healthcare hierarchy, coders have never really gotten respect because everybody looks down on coders at the decision making level, and that's something that the coding profession has allowed to go on for far too long. Because if people don't respect you, they're not going to pay you. And I've been in too many industries. I've moved around, and the most telling section of HIM that I've ever worked in was CDI. When I tell you I understood everything, when I started doing inpatient CDI, I understood everything that was wrong with HIM, everything that's wrong with coding, everything that's wrong, period, because that's where I got to see the most total disregard for the skill of medical coding. And I don't know how anybody that works in healthcare can disregard how you get paid. I just don't. And at the end of the day, you have to blame coders. You cannot expect anybody to advocate for you better and harder than you. And you have to make people put respect on your skill. You have to make people recognize what you bring to the table, because there is not a nurse in the entire United States that brings in the money a medical coder brings in. It's not. And If it wasn't for coders, then nurses wouldn't get paid. It's not the other way around. Because people are going to get sick regardless. People don't need a nurse to get sick, but people need coders for these organizations to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts and stops right there. And until the message changes, it's not going to happen. And I'll just say this because I mean, and if anybody thinks the HEMA is going to do it, it's not going to happen. I think that some of their advocacy is amazing. I really, really do. And I'm going to give them credit for what they do, but I'm also going to call up what they don't do. And
Mm-hmm.
when I listened, and I'm really just amazed when I listen to these town hall meetings, just how tone deaf the organization is. Like you have people who ask questions, they ask legitimate questions, and these people waffle or deflect, clear responses. And these are all member organizations. Like people pay to belong to these organizations. It's not free. And in addition to maintaining credentials, which keeps them in business, you have an obligation to the profession. And I don't, and I'm just going to keep it on a HEMA for a minute. I don't know what they're doing, because until, like, they need to start bringing in more people who are coders first, who are HIM first, not these people who are coming in from other industries, because that's how you lose control, and they've lost control.
What do you mean, people from other industry?
People who are not coders, if you have not come from, I like, I am a nurse and a coder, but I consider myself a coder first, because what I do in my mind, I is it's more coding centric. Now, I can't say that my clinical background hasn't helped, because I didn't get into it before. I got into it afterwards, so I can't say that it hasn't helped me at all. But those guidelines don't have nothing to do with me knowing how to hang an IV. Nothing. So this mixing and people coming in, and I just like CDI, like that, coders, HIM let CDI be taken over completely. And I don't know how they stood for it. I really don't. Because you have these people who I don't understand, people who don't think that coders have to validate. Every code you assign has to be validated.
Validating.
Every
Absolutely.
code has to have meat. Meat is validation.
Mm-hmm.
So how these people think that, oh, well, just because the provider, and I had a conversation with one of my former coworkers, and she was saying that there was a coding clinic from years ago that says that if the provider documents a condition, he doesn't have to uh, validate the criteria or something. He doesn't have to validate or explain how he got to it. And while I understand that, but if you want to get paid, somebody got to, because somebody's got to want to look at this and say, well, hey,
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
that's what's documented, but no, that's not. Mm-mm. Like there's established criteria that payers go by and that facilities go by. Like just because somebody says pneumonia, no, like what okay, so all right, this is documented, but let me check. Like that's basic. And that's what I learned when I was taught coding. So I don't know how we got away from that, and I don't know how, like, people just I don't know. I just really feel sorry for newer people coming into the industry, and I feel sorry for people who want to. And then another thing, it's too hard to move around. Like if you've been a coder for a number of years, you want to go to a new specialty, people act like you got to darn near go to school all over. Why? Why? I mean, if okay, well, if you worked in cardiology, okay, you might have cardiology CM codes, but it doesn't mean that that's the only chapter, chapter 9 in the ICD-10 guidelines. So
Right.
if you want to go into gastroenterology, I mean, well, you can look up the codes for colitis too. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's not,
Absolutely.
it's not rocket science. And they have all these imaginary barriers that frustrate people, and it keeps roles from being filled. And on top of it, you ain't making no damn money. Like y'all stop with the jokes. Like y'all done missed the plot all the way around. That's all I got.
Well, for me, I think one of the important pieces here, and I agree with you as far as um, advocacy on both sides. I don't necessarily know AAPC to be an advocacy organization. I know, I mean, as far as being out there talking to legislators, trying to get laws, rules, I don't know them to do that. However, they still should advocate for the profession and advocate. I heard the other day, um, we were having this conversation about um, somewhere, somehow, some way, folks were allowing, at one point you could not do this work without a certification. um I know there were some states that actually made it state law that you had to have a certification in order to, you had to be a certified coder in order to do this work. But there were lots of states that did not have that same legislation on their books. However, somewhere, and I guess it happened during COVID when things kind of got real loose and relaxed, that they were letting people um, not have certification at all. Not even like CPCA or CCA, nothing. Just kind of do this work. Now, I knew once upon a time, way back when folks came in and worked their way up and that kind of thing. And we still have probably a few of those folks still working in medical coding. But in 2026, to still have the that you don't need to be, that is crazy to me. And we see in the job ads, we see in the information that you need, if how are you going to be respected if you can't even validate and show that your credentials matter, that the credentials are needed, that credentials are what set you apart from anybody walking off the street who always say, oh, that's easy, all you got to do is look through the book and pick out a code. No, absolutely not. So I think first and foremost, there should be some sort of standards. And I do know that some organizations have that. So they will have, like, in their job descriptions, they will have documentation to support. They need to be certified to do this work. But then some don't. And that's where it gets real loose and iffy. But that BLS piece to me would be a game changer. That needs to be that, while AHIMA advocates for all type of things, there needs to be some advocacy around that piece in and of itself. I personally know it was discussed. That's when I first heard it 2-3 years ago at a House of Delegates meeting. That needs to come back before the delegates. That needs to be reintroduced and rediscussed. And I know there was a group there was a gentleman I know, because he was hot, beyond hot, that was pushing for it. I don't know where he went. I don't know if he's still there. And I don't think he was like a HEMA staff. I think he was someone from a component association, but was really pushing the charge for that. And because there were so many other things happening, his voice got muted. This right here can help reinforce from a federal perspective what it is that we do by making sure our job is being classified correctly. It's not classified correctly. So yeah, folks can be like, again, nothing against administrative assistants, nothing against clerical people, nothing against any of that. But that's not us. We work too hard.
But there's so many. There are a few, not so many. There are a few occupations that are not Well, that have that work in a different classification, and it is also what works against them. And nursing is one of them. You know, a lot of people, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, nursing is considered skilled labor. But what the nursing profession has been doing, well, they've done it now. But what they were trying to do for years, but they haven't gotten the Bureau of Labor Statistics to change it. They've tried to make it now. Technically, it is a profession because you have to have a professional license to practice,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not how it's classified by the. It's still considered skilled labor. And when you think about what it is, the function, it is skilled labor. But what nursing has done is they've tried to make it a profession, and that's why they made the BSN the standard to work in a hospital. Now, what that because I don't know what the benefit of magnet status is, to be perfectly honest, because
Mm-hmm.
because all hospitals complain about money. So I don't really know what the benefit is, but what I know, what the outcome of it is they have displaced a lot of associate degree nurses and a lot of diploma nurses. If you don't have a bachelor's, you can't work in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, and still during COVID, you know, they would have let my dead grandmother work in a hospital. So if the work is if you need this level of skill to perform it, then you need this level of skill to perform it. Full stop. There should be no, oh well, okay, you can come on now because we need you. No. And it's all behind this whole, you're trying to make it like, see, me personally, like I've just, this is just me, and that's also has been part of my problem. I don't care what you call me as long as you pay me. So I could be classified as a whatever. If that money is right, I'll be that all day. That's
But I
not,
think that I think that that classification ties to the money, and if you
but
increase to from what I've read, it if it ties to the level of acknowledgement, respect, awareness, all of the things that we're pushing for our profession can at step one be resolved with making sure that we're classified correctly.
well, you know, and I appreciate that because skilled laborers get paid. I mean, welders get paid.
They get paid.
So
They get paid.
I get it. And nurses for the most part make good money, but I'm just saying how the nurses have tried to make their have tried to make it something other than what the Bureau of Labor Statistics is saying that it is. That was really all that I'm saying. Like in them trying to elevate it, they've just, in my opinion, they've just caused more of a problem, and that's really why we have such a real nursing shortage. People are there's no there's plenty of nurses in this country, but not all registered nurses have a bachelor's, and that's part of the problem. Like they get bogged down, and I just think that for coders, I just think that coders have for far too long have let other people speak for them. And I don't think a lot of coders have been in a room, to be perfectly honest. And this is very much a skill. This is not easy. You don't learn this by osmosis. And I've said this before, as somebody who knows Python, as somebody who knows SQL, medical coding is 10 times harder because the syntax for Python, the syntax for SQL does not change. Medical coding, those codes can rearrange any number of ways based on what's going on for that case.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And changes twice a year.
That's right.
And all the things that we have to work under. I just, for me, I think advocacy starting with that BLS is important. I agree. Advocacy for yourself as a person working in the profession, that's also important. You have to let folks know what it is that you can do and not necessarily rely on someone else, because as you so eloquently stated, it's clear that those advocacy channels are not working, or not working quick enough, or should have been working and now trying to pick up some steam, which in a lot of cases may be a little too late. um but I also think And I also think, not but, and I also think just awareness at some point. I mean, we just had the health information hip week. I don't even think there was clear awareness or information around that. I mean, hip 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 hooray. I mean, what, there should have been some targeted activities or targeted awareness. And I know there were posts. I know there were so many social media, da 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 da. But everybody, first of all, everybody not really paying attention to everybody's social media. First, before even that, everybody's algorithm doesn't get the same thing. Let's start there. So you can post all day long. You can post till you blue in the face. If there is no interaction between you and the poster, you may not ever see it, or you may see it months later, and it's too late. So the energy that's fueling that machine, I think that energy could be directed other way, in other areas. Maybe split the energy and maybe having conversations. Do a round table with some HR people, so they at least know, hey, this is what the people. If you need some additional folks to help advocate for us, why not HR? Talk to the HR people. Let them get an appreciation and understanding, because they're usually that front line when people come in for positions. I mean, of course, the hiring people are the ones that put together all of the things, but HR can be a strong advocate if they have an appreciation and understand. They don't know either. They only know what the piece of paper says. Oh, okay, well, all right, sure. And maybe discounting people for things that they don't know exist. I just think there needs to be more awareness, more appreciation, awareness, understanding, so that we are elevated to the levels that we need to be, based on the work that we need to do, based on all of the things that can stop on a dime if we stop. It's too much at stake here.
But that's a bottom up approach. It's never going to be a top down, because nobody is ever going to see you until you make them see you. And when you look at labor unions, that was a bottom up. And this is why you have, welders, that you have people work on these oil rigs. They make $100,000, $200,000 a year, and then they work 6 months a year. That's not because these companies were so benevolent. That's because that's what they demanded.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's so specialized, okay, well, get somebody else to go float in the middle of water and do this. It's really just that simple, because nobody's ever going to, like, my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies was Love Got to Do with It. And the message that I took away from it was not Ike Turner did not decide to stop beating Tina. Tina decided Ike wasn't going to beat me no more. And that's when her life changed. And that can be applied and extrapolated to every area of your life. For anybody, you have to be the change. And it's not, and I feel sorry for new people coming into the profession, because because I see them on social media and they're actually struggling, and nobody can give them any real advice, because what really needs to be talked about, nobody's willing to have the conversations. And as far as AHIMA, I told you this years ago, when as soon as they announced that they had owned the HC Pro. What did I tell you? I told you that it's done. And every time I listen to these town hall meetings, it's just further confirmation. Like, it's done. People don't even realize it. It's done. Because I know where this is going. I called it years ago, and it's right on track for just what the hell I said.
Lordy. Well, again, I think, none of these changes actually require any new legislation for real, but would be nice. And most of them don't even require budget approval. They just require a shift in how we see this workforce. And I think all of that shift is involved directly with how we're viewed, appreciation for the work that we do, and an understanding for what would happen if we walked away today. So with that being said, thank you all for being here with us today. And next week, I believe next week, let me make sure. Yeah, I'll be here next week. We'll open up part 2 where we are going to dig into the human cost of being overlooked. So the burnout, more on the compensation gaps and the productivity pressures and what it's doing to the people in this profession. So again, thank you all for being here. Mr. Jesse, do you have any closing thoughts? Any additional closing thoughts?
I just want people, we have coders who listen to us. I need y'all to weigh in. You need to be commenting because this is a discussion.
That's true. Yeah, we need to hear from you. Like we and you see, we're passionate about this thing. Always have been and probably always will be. Where is your passion? Where is your desire to see improvements? Where's your desire to see things change as it relates to your profession? You got out here for something. You jumped in these waters for something. What's your why? What's your why? Let's talk about it.
There you go.
Well, thank you all again for spending your Saturday morning with us. Thank you enough for caring enough about our profession to get an appreciation on what it is that you can possibly do to advocate not only for the profession, but also for yourself. I'm Clarice Warner, the girl with the pearls, reminding you that when we lead with knowledge and integrity, we can navigate any challenge. And this, my friend, is a challenge that we need to be strategic about solving. Remember, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care. Have a great weekend, and happy Memorial Day. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.